Then tool support for test specification. So some tools to support test specification are test design tool or test data preparation tools. So these kind of tools provide support for test specification. So let's go ahead and see test design tool and test data preparation tool one by one. So test design tool. So test design tool help to construct test cases and test input. So most of the time you would have seen that you are constructing test cases manually with your understanding or experience. These tools help you to design test cases and test inputs. So you can provide test inputs based on the test input. They'll provide you decent amount of number of test cases, or based on the conditions that you define, they help you to construct the test cases. Then test design tool can easily and quickly identify the tests or test input that will exercise all of elements. So that is input field, button, branches. So these test design tool easily and quickly identify the test conditions. So based on, so suppose you have some input field or buttons and branches, you provide those details, and these test design tools will help you to identify the number of test cases for those conditions or inputs that you have provided. Then test design tools also help to identify possible combinations for test executions, like OS and browser combinations. So this is another feature of test design tool. So suppose you want to identify the best possible coverage for OS and browser combination. So you can provide the details that the OS that you are supporting, the browsers that your software needs to be supported on, and test design tool will provide you the combination of different OS and browser which needs to be covered. Then test design tool embedded with code coverage tools help to identify functionality which is still not being tested by current set of tests, and where new test cases need to be added. So test design tools are, whenever you are doing code coverage, if you integrate test design tool with code coverage, then these test design tool help you to identify the coverage that is being achieved by the number of test cases that you have written. And it will, so suppose you have 100 test cases, and those 100 test cases are giving you a coverage of 80%. That means that you still need to write test cases to achieve that 20% remaining coverage. So test design tool, whenever they are embedded with code coverage, help you to identify which functionality still needs to be where you need to add more test cases in order to get the 100% coverage. Then what are the features of test design design tools? So test design tools generate test input values from following. So for example, they generate test input values from requirements. Then they provide input values from design models, then from graphical user interface, your software codes, test conditions, and if test oracle is available, then it also generates the expected results. So based on different requirements or graphical user interface or data models, they generate test data or test cases or test input values. Then these tools are used mostly throughout the software development lifecycle, and they are used mostly by the testers. So these test design tools are kind of used by senior testers, and some of the test design tools are like all pairs testing or ACTS, which is mostly combinatorial test design. Then you have a test tool from Microsoft which is known as PICT, or there is another company, Hexawise, which has test design tools. So based on the input that you provide in the test design tools, be it the graphical user interface input like fields, buttons, branches, it will generate the test cases or test outcome that you need to add into your test cases. Then the other tool is test data preparation tool. So test data preparation tools help to prepare test data. So because whenever you are testing, you need some test data to be loaded into the software so that you can go ahead and start testing. Test data preparation tool main purpose is to prepare that sort of test data. Then it's mostly used for performance and reliability testing, as large amount of data is required for performance and reliability testing. So test data preparation tool are mostly used by performance tester, because performance testers need tens of thousands of users or data into the software in order to find out what the performance of the software is, or how reliable is the software. So these are mostly used by performance testers. Then features of a test data preparation tool are to extract data from different databases or files. So that's the most important feature, because suppose you have a production environment already running. So test data preparation tool can extract data from production environment, and then that can be imported to the test environment. So test data preparation tool has a functionality to extract data from different databases or from different files, like comma separated file or flat files. Then it should have the ability to extract data from existing production environment and push it into the test environment. So it should have ability to extract from any production or any other database. Then other feature is to construct large number of records from a template for performance test. So if you create a template to create a test user for the performance testing, then test data preparation tool can create large amount of users or records based on that template. Then it also provides data masking feature for data protection and privacy. So you can mask the data using data preparation tool for your for data protection and privacy stuff. Then you can modify data records and order. So another feature is that you can modify the data that is being generated by test data preparation tool, or you can modify any the order of the data that is being that needs to be inserted into test environment. So these are used mostly when a system testing or end-to-end testing or performance testing is being done, and used mostly by testers and developers, because developers also need test data while they are doing a development activity. So if they are developing some fixing them performance related defect or module, then at that point of time they need the test data to be loaded in their development environment. So for which they need test data preparation tool to prepare data and upload it into their development environment. So it is used mostly by testers and developers. Then to conclude, in this session we learned about different tools classification. So we learned about tools for management of testing and tests. Then we learned about tools for supporting of static testing, tool support for static testing, and then finally we learn about tool support for test specification. So in the next session, in part 2 of this session, we will learn about tool support for test execution and logging, tool support for performance and monitoring, then tool support for specific application areas, and tool support using other tools. Thank you.